Yo, hello YouTube, I'm back. I want to do a quick video for today. I'm in London at the moment and I want to get home. I won't have a job to get home, but that's fine. So today it is Thursday the 14th of September and I'm going to tell you about today and something I forgot to tell you about yesterday. In my video yesterday I completely forgot to tell you my stats. It wasn't a great day yesterday. Basically, just to summarise, I did 2 jobs yesterday, got home to sleep at home, but my net earnings after the end of the day was £87 or thereabouts. It's not a good day, but at least I got home. Right, today I woke up and I had on board my items from my pickup in Doncaster, and my plan was to get to High Wycombe as quickly as possible and then to be available for jobs working my way home. And I had 2 choices really. I could get up early or get up at normal time. If I got up early, say 6 o'clock, then I was hoping to get down to High Wycombe and get offloaded before say 9, and then I'd have a good chance of getting a decent job, I thought. My option was to have a lie-in and not get there until say 11 and then probably have to sit around finding a job. So can you guess what I ended up doing this morning? I'll give you a moment to think about it. You know who I'm like. Yep, I set my alarm for 6 o'clock and I was out the door by 6:30. Surprised myself even. The problem was it wasn't as quick as I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be 2 3/4 hours, but it ended up being more like 3.5 hours with the traffic. So I didn't get finished and offloaded in High Wycombe until 10 o'clock. I had to do 2 things at that point. Desperately needed to go to the toilet and desperately needed to get some diesel. So by the time I'd done those 2 things, it was more like 10 before I was ready to find a job. So I was looking for a job and I'd kind of missed the rush, if there was such a thing, in High Wycombe. And I put a bid on a few things to remind myself about what I bid on this morning. So I went quite low, so I did. I usually try and do a minimum of £50 for my jobs, but I realised where I was, that wasn't going to necessarily work unless I could find a long wheelbase job, and most of the jobs weren't long wheelbases. So what I ended up doing in the end was there was a job from High Wycombe going to Farnborough for a small van that was 35 miles, and I bid £50 on that one and didn't get that. There was a job after that going from Oxford area to PH. Let me just remind myself where PH is. It's Scotland, and that was delivery in the morning. So I did put a bid on there. I didn't do £1 a mile. Be surprised to learn. A small van job, 510 miles. I bid £450, which I think I was happy doing, but I wasn't surprised I didn't get that. What came next? I bid on a Hayes to Barnsley, but that got cancelled. I bid on a Watford to Bradford, but that got cancelled as well. My next one I bid on £50 was Staines to Hounslow. That was for a small van going 5 miles. I just wanted to do something. I wanted to get moving. Didn't get that. And I was thinking, well, I need to probably reduce my price a bit, I think, at this time. So what else will I do? There was a Hersham KT postcode going to Hinckley, an LE postcode. I thought was a good option for me. It had a 2-hour window to pick up. I put £100 bid on for a short wheelbase job. It's 110 miles. And I thought I might have a chance with that, but I didn't get it. The next one I looked at was a Whitney to Kidlington. This is where I started going lower. That was basically an Oxford to Oxford area. I put £40 on. Basically, the actual job itself was 10 miles. I just thought, well, I'll put on enough money to get myself from where I was in High Wycombe to Whitney, which is about 30 odd miles away, and the £40 will at least get me away from the London area, but I didn't get that even. And then the next one I went low on was £45 from Henley-on-Thames. So I was quite close to that. I was about 20 minutes from there going to Reading, so it was taking me away from London. That's for a small van job. Again, that was also 10 miles, and I didn't get that for £45. So I was beginning to think at this point I was not going to get anything. There was a Farnborough to Salisbury one that was going the wrong direction for me, but it got cancelled. There's an Abingdon to Burford, which is both Oxford area, but it was a long wheelbase job. So I put £60 on there for a 26-mile journey. And the reason why I had it is a delivery stop. So I was thinking £50 minimum plus £10 for a delivery stop. I thought it was a fair price, didn't get that. And then next one on was Watford to Leicester. I was getting a bit desperate here. Watford is about 40 minutes away from me. Put £80 on for an 89-mile job for a what was that? For a short wheelbase job, which I thought was a fair price. There's an East Grinstead to Kettering, but for tomorrow morning. I put £150 on for a long wheelbase job, going 131 miles. I thought it was a fair price. And then I think I got one. Which one did I get? I got one that was going completely the wrong direction, to be honest. It's from Feltham, which was about half an hour from where I was, going to Brighton on the coast. There's two drops, one in Hove, one in Hove and one in Brighton. So 68 miles. They're asking for a short wheelbase van, and I put on £80 and I got that job. And that was to be collected at 12:30, and I got the job quite early. I got it about 11ish, and I was about half an hour away. So I want to talk about a question. What would you do in this situation? You've got a job that's half an hour away and it's picked up in an hour and a half. So there's no way you can do another job in that time. What would you do? Would you wait? Would you go there? Would you go near there? Would you do something else? Well, this is what I did yesterday, and I did the same thing yesterday as I did today, but with two very different outcomes. So I'm going to talk about both outcomes. What I did was I went straight to the pickup point. I got there at 11:30 or 11:25. I just said to them, just so you know, I'm here. When you're ready, I'm available. And I was an hour early. And in this particular case, they said that they had someone to load in front of me, and then I was after that, but it wouldn't be for a while yet. So I waited, and I ended up getting loaded up a bit early, but not very early. I was loaded and off site by 12:20. So that I would say they started loading me about 12:10. So they loaded me about 20 minutes early. Now yesterday, I was exactly the same situation. I went to a stop and I was about an hour early. And I went to them and said, I'll just let you know I'm here. When you're ready, I appreciate I'm early. Let me know when you're ready. And they were really quite helpful. There was a bit of confusion because I had very little information about where I was going, but they found out for me where I was going. They said it'll be about 15 minutes. So I got, in that case, they loaded up and away about 40 minutes before the pickup time because they were ready. So this is something that I do. I'm not saying it's right for everyone. I'm not even saying it's the right thing to do. But if I've got a booking that's I'm very early for, I try not to do that. For a start, I try to go from one booking to the next booking to the next booking without any delays at all. It's not very often that this happens, but it's happened to happen twice in 2 days. So rather than me turning up at the time requested, I do always, if I get a chance to, go there as soon as I can after receiving the booking and just let them know I'm here if you need me, because often, more often than not, they're ready and you can go off earlier. Now there are some clients that would not like you to do that. There is one person that I would work for who knows that his client wouldn't like me to turn up early. They want you to turn up on time. But that's the exception rather than the rule. Most people who want their stuff taken, if they're ready, they're happy for it to go straight away. So from my point of view, I'm very happy to chance my arm and to go somewhere even an hour early if I have that opportunity, just to see if they are available. More often than not, it's half an hour or an hour or a quarter of an hour early, and often they're always ready. So I think I would I'm happy doing that. I'm happy to turn up quite early if I can, because it just saves the rest of the day a bit. So I picked up this at 12:20. I made my way down to Brighton, well, Hove and then Brighton. Got dropped off and I was finished by the 2 stops. First stop I finished at 2:25, and then the second one I finished, first one I finished at 5:22, and then I finished the second stop at 2:25. So it's still quite early. I was in Brighton and I decided that I was going to try and get home tonight. So I was looking for jobs to get me north from Brighton, and there wasn't much there. There was 2 jobs anywhere close to me. So at 25 past, actually the first thing I did was I was right in the centre of Brighton. I drove out, I spent about 10 minutes driving out of Brighton until I could find somewhere to park on the other road. I parked up, I started looking at the CX for any local jobs on the map. And there was 2 jobs, one in Worthing and one further afield. It's about half an hour away. I bid on them both, but it looked really scarce, so I wasn't sure what to do. I was even contemplating just heading north and just seeing what would happen. The problem with that, and you may have this problem yourself, or you might not. For the last few days, I use an Android device. The last few days, I've been unable to set a future journey, and as soon as you click the time box, it closes the app and you go to the home screen, and it also turns off your tracking, and it's really not useful. It's amazing how much you use the future journey function. When you can't use it, it's amazing how much you miss it. So I did contact CX, put in a request for support. I did this a couple of days ago, and their response was they knew about the technical difficulties. I should delete my app and reload it. So full disclosure, this was on Tuesday, and at that time I also wasn't able to create invoices within my app. I just did it when I got home. So when I did on Tuesday download the app again, it resolved the creating an invoice problem, but I couldn't do a future journey. And I thought, well, that's pointless. I can't do what I want to do, and I just left it. I thought, I've already talked to them. They're just going to say download it again, which I've done already, and I haven't resolved it. Today I had a bit of time, so while I was waiting for a job, I deleted my app again and reinstalled it, hoping that in the last couple of days they've updated the technology to resolve the problem, because they're aware of the problem. And it still had the same issue. I couldn't do a future journey, so I couldn't really start going north and start looking for jobs towards London or towards home. So I put in another request for support, just saying I've done what you said, I've reloaded the app and it's still not working. And to give them credit, I got a call within about 10 minutes, and the lady on the phone explained that they knew that there's a problem with Android phones. They were to try and deal with it, and that the only solution they could resolve for me would be to either use the desktop version to add a time in, or you could just put in the to and from places and not put any time in at all into the app. So I said that's fine, I'll try those two options. So I mentioned that because I then wanted to resolve the future journey issue. So but by that point I then had a look at the CX app, and there was quite a few more jobs on there. And I bid on a job for tomorrow morning. I bid on a couple of jobs sort of within half an hour of me. And would you believe it? I got 3 phone calls. The first phone call was the job for tomorrow morning. And it was a really nice guy from a national shipper. And he gave me a job, explained to me what the job was. It was for tomorrow morning. And he said to me, I should contact my local Speedy Freight because they are looking for new drivers. So I asked him for a name, he gave me a name, and asked for a number. But as I was waiting for a number, I got a call come in from someone else. So I took the call. It was a job. It was one of my jobs that I bid on. And it was one of them which was going from Lewes, I probably should say that, to London. And I'd bid on that job £70. It was a small van job for 67 miles. And it was with a company that I had used before, probably once or twice. And I remember them because their notes on their app are really, I would say, friendly. No, that's the wrong one. So I'm looking at it now. It says be courteous and professional at all times, but in a way that I feel is because that's what they want rather than because they expect no one to do that. And then there's a few other notes about what you expect, which is just stuff that I would do anyway. But I like the fact that they define what they expect from a driver really clearly, which is good. Anyway, I like this particular shipper, and they gave me a job. I accepted the job, put the phone down, and then within about 5 seconds, I got the phone rang again, and I could see from the notes it was the person I put another quote on for. So I'll tell you what the quote was. It was going from Brighton, where I was, it's very close to where I was, to Wadhurst, and it was 40 miles for a small van. And so Wadhurst is, I didn't know where it was, but looking at the map now, it's sort of towards, from Brighton, it's sort of north east, it's just below Royal Tunbridge Wells, sort of towards, I'm guessing it's in Kent, sort of directly north from Eastbourne and Hastings. So it wasn't a million miles away. I put £50 on, and I got a call about that. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it. So £50 from Brighton for a 40-mile job, small van, I would have got that. Anyway, so I got 3 jobs, offers all in a row, which made my day much better than it's going to be. So I made my way then towards my pickup, and that was a residential house in Lewes, and there was a phone number both for the pickup and the drop-off. So I'm about 10 minutes away. I called the mobile number and just told them I was on my way, and I got some just checked where I was going. Got to the pickup point, had a chat with the guy. He's asking about my job and about, you know, what I was telling him about the advantages of having same-day courier and the disadvantages, as a service for customers. So I was saying that it is quite expensive, but it's a really good way of getting something sent safely and securely. And so he seemed quite keen. I told him the person I was working for, and I said I recommend this company I was working for, not me, but the company I was doing the work for. And then I took the stuff and went towards London. And obviously, traffic is always really busy. It took me ages to get to London. I left Lewes at 4 o'clock. and I didn't get to my drop off at London until 10 to 7. It was so busy. Obviously there was no chance of getting a job after that, but I've kind of made a bit of money and I've got a bit further towards home, and I've got my job for tomorrow morning, which is a small job, but it was nice to do a job for the guy that offered it to me, and it means that I'm going to be at home again tonight. I'm going to do dead miles now to get home. It means I'll be home for the 4th night on a row, so this week will be a complete week of non-tramping, and I do think it's worth comparing and contrasting the money you can earn from tramping compared to non-tramping, and it is definitely, I think, less if you don't tramp. So let me give you my stats for today. Oh yeah, I've got the fuel, so I've got an updated fuel price for this week. There is a question that I got from a video a couple of videos ago about the fuel, and I suppose it'd be a good opportunity here to explain a bit more detail, because I'll answer the question and I'll explain how I work it out, because I did this right at the start, but maybe it's worth doing it again. So what I do with my fuel is, when I fill up my van, at that moment I put in the date and I put in the price of the fuel that I'm filling up before VAT, because I can claim my VAT back, so I don't really include the VAT in my expenses. I then put the current mileage as my end mileage for that record, and then I copy the mileage from my previous fill up as my starting mileage. My spreadsheet then works out how many miles I've done on that last tank of fuel, and then with the number of litres I've added, which I put in also, my spreadsheet works out the price that the price of the fuel I put in, and it divides it by the number of miles I've just done, and that gives me my average pence per mile driven. Now there is a slight inaccuracy, not even inaccuracy really, it's like decision I had to make about this. That price, so for example today it was 17.33 pence that came out as. So that price is the cost of the 565 miles I've done based on filling up the fuel tank today. Obviously the fuel I put in today is still in my tank. I haven't used it at all. So there is some sort of variance. If I was to fill up last week, or my last fill up, if it was very much more cheaper or expensive, then the fuel that I am filling up with this week is what I'm using to base the price on of the fuel that I've used over the past week. Now, in my mind, there's two reasons why I'm okay with that. First of all, because I work with averages, any daily discrepancy will be averaged out. But also, the reason why I want to do it this way is that I was really keen when I started to do this, that I wanted to have almost a live update on the current fuel price per mile. Now, if I was to wait, for example, for me to use up the fuel I've got in my tank today and then work out how much this particular fuel tank has cost me per mile, it might take me 2 or 3 days to get through this tank. So I won't know today how much today's fuel is costing per mile. I'd rather know by the end of the day how much my fuel pence per mile is by looking at the miles I did for last fill up compared to today's price. Now I hope that makes some sense. I haven't explained it very clearly, but it makes sense to me. Basically, the problem with that is if the price goes up very quickly or down very quickly, it's not going to be fully reflective of what I'm doing right now, but I average it all out. And to answer the question from my comment, when I filled up last time, I had an average price of 14.07 pence, which is quite low compared to recent prices. And I think the reason why that is low is for two reasons. I went to Asda and got a penny per litre off what I'm paying with my card. But also, because I was in the middle of trying to get to a job and I was late, I didn't actually remember to write down the correct mileage on the day I filled up for Asda. So I put an estimate in, and it is possible that I overestimated how many miles I did. So I look back at my last lots of fill-ups. Today, when I filled up my diesel, my fuel tank, from the last fill up, I did 565 miles. When I filled it up at Asda, I'd done 677 miles. And prior to that, the one before that was 635 miles. So I'm looking at this and thinking 677 miles might be a bit too many miles. So possibly I've added on too many miles to my Asda fill up, which means that I'll have a lower pence per mile than I would properly have. So it's possible that 14.07 is a bit low, and my figure today is 17.33, might be a bit high. But when they are averaged out, they come at 15.7 pence, which is pretty much expected. So I rely on the averaging number at the end of the week to be what I'm really taking from this. My actual daily diesel figures are good to give me some idea what I've done that day, but they're never going to be completely accurate. I mean, yeah, maybe, yeah. So I'm going to leave it there. Oh no, sorry, I need to say figures today. I need to say my figures. So today, when I get home, I will have driven 394 miles, 394. I would have worked for 15 hours. I'm basing my diesel price on as 15.7 pence per mile on average, which means that today I've spent 61.84 pence, £64.84 on fuel. I've done 3 jobs today. The first job for £210 was my non-CX job, finishing it off this morning at High Wycombe. I then got £80 to go from Feltham to Brighton, and I got £70 to go from Lewes to London. So in total, my gross profit is £360. But again, caveat: some of that work was done the day before, so that's why I tend to prefer weekly averages. But today, if I'm going to go with 87 as being my earnings from yesterday after fuel, today I got £298 after fuel. So I'm going to quickly give you what my current average per day is over the last 4 days. After fuel, I've earned £198 so far, so it's unlikely that by the end of tomorrow I'll have got my target. I'm probably going to be significantly lower than my target of £250 per day after fuel. But we'll see how it goes. I've got a small job in the morning, and we'll see what happens on Friday. Right, thank you very much for listening to me again. I hope it's been of interest watching the world around me in North London. I will see you tomorrow. Look at yourselves. Farewell. What have you learnt today?